Hey guys, welcome back. In the previous video we solved our singleton problem, as you can see here, and just when I thought like all our problems are over, it appeared like they were not. So I tried to basically push this code into my GitHub repository, and if I show you the builds, this is what I got, right? If I click on this and if I click on the build, it actually failed. And when I tried to look into these errors, it said, hey, we have 3 tests run, 3 errors. We got this null pointer exceptions in the test sandbox class, which was on the line 13th, which is what was here. We're trying to run this line where we're trying to fetch the instance in the Git configuration. And when I looked up, it said we have this null pointer exception, which was happening in this class at this particular line. Now, as you can see, if I go back to all these runs, as you can see now I've solved the problem. It took me like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a couple of trials before I could fix it. I can give you the solution, but I think the important thing which I want to basically touch base upon in this video is troubleshooting, because troubleshooting is going to be an important part of your life if you want to work in automation. If you want to work as an automation engineer, troubleshooting is going to be an important part of your life, right? So let me show you my thought process on how I try to troubleshoot this problem, and then in the process you can also see like how we normally fix it. Going back, so since this line was basically failing also all this unrelated test, I decided to first move this line inside just to isolate our problem. So I remove this, put this inside the method, remove private static, and now let's go back. I would just go to this test sandbox, click it, and I would say try 1, fixing errors, commit, sync changes, and let's go back and let's see what do we get. A new build should have been triggered, and for example if I refresh this, you will see a new build is being triggered. Now I might go into the build, wait for a few seconds, and let's wait for the errors to appear again. My expectation from this test is, okay, I have 3 tests that I was running in isolation. At least 2 of them should pass because they're like simply like assert true, true. And now I'm trying to isolate this problem and see what do we get. So good, we have a failure. If I scroll it down, now we have 1 error and 2 tests are passing, which is good. We still are getting these errors like no class definition found, could not initialize. I want to see and go up, like when was the first time we get this error. Let's see, set config called, and basically there's not much detail here, guys. Like it just says Java lang no class definition found error, could not initialize class. And then what I did was I just copied this, look for look for answers on the internet, and for example when I click this, somebody else gave a similar problem statement, and for example I think this guy explained you're getting a this, which does not mean that your class is missing. The class loader ran into an error while reading the class definition when trying to read the class. Put a try catch inside a static initializer and look at the exception. If you read some files and it differs from a local environment, it's very likely that the cause of problem is there, right? So that was a very good hint. So let's go back and let's try to put a try catch block in a test environment factory, because I believe this is the place where all this problem is happening. So let's put a try catch exception print stack trace. At this moment, this is what we want to do. I will put all this code, put inside the try catch block. Now it's complaining that, hey, there's not a return statement, but I don't want to do like, set as null and return the config. Rather, we are going to throw an exception, throw new illegal state exception, and I could say uh, could not parse config, right? And with this change, I expect, and by the way guys, like if I still run this test from my Windows machine, it has no problems, right? It's still running it absolutely fine. It's only when I'm trying to run it into a remote machine that I'm getting these errors. So let's go back, test environment factory. Now it's inside a try catch block, and I would say try to fix issues, commit, sync changes. Let's go back and let's go back to the build, click on it, in a few seconds. So we have not done anything to fix the problem. I think we are just trying to troubleshoot it, right? So we should see more information, like that's the whole goal. Okay, tests are running. And this time, if you see, we still have the errors, but there's a bigger stack trace, which would give us more insight into what's happening, right? So it's saying that the test environment, so the test sandbox Java line 16 was called, so test sandbox. So this is the place where the error was, which is pretty good. So now we have isolated the problem. It is not anywhere below, but here. Then it says it called test environment factory. It called line 10, line 14, line 35, right? So let's go to test environment factory, line 10. This is where it tried to create the instance. Line 14, it tried to create the instance, and line 35. So this was the place where it failed. So it was trying to basically get all the files from this test environment directory, but it failed here. That's interesting. And what is the error? The error is null pointer exception. So basically, it could not find like files in this particular file path. That's a good input, guys. So let's try to put some log info statements here. So let me see if I put a log info statement here, and if I call it as path, and if I print the path, I want to see what is being parsed, in this particular path. So let's go back. Let's say log info to troubleshoot. Let's commit this. Let's save the changes, and let's see if we can get more insights here. By the way, my first instinct was that maybe it has got something to do with the path, because I know in Windows the path are different, and in Linux machine, which is what is being run in the remote CI, the path is different. And I thought maybe this is the problem, and I in fact tried to add a path. I in fact tried to add a path variable, which is to say paths.get, and this is the place where I try to give, for example, source, and I try to construct the path using this, but this also did not solve my problem. Like I'm just showing that I tried a different approach, so that's why I had more trials. And test environment dot name, but this also did not solve my problem. So for now, let's go back. Let's see, what did we get this time? Failure, build. Let's open this. Let's scroll up. And this time, it is actually showing us that the path is source main resources develop. Do you see something weird? Well, in this particular case, when you're running on the Windows machine, even though we were only passing test environment, which is like the name of the enum, which is by the way uppercase, Windows does not differentiate between uppercase directories and lowercase directories. It could treat them the same. But if you look into Linux, it seems Linux is not able to, uh, look at it like the same thing. So this is where the problem must be occurring. So with this knowledge, I went back to my class, Windows 1, and what I did was very simple thing. Let's say if you want to, by the way, try with path, you can also try it. But in this case, it's not necessary because, like, I know that's not the root cause of the problem. So I'm getting rid of it, and if I'm just calling it as to string, and then I'm just calling it as to lower case. That's what I want to do. And in fact, since I know that I'm going to do the same thing over here as well, I should actually pass it as a string test environment name, and there could have been a much more cleaner way of implementing it by giving those names over here, but for now I think this will suffice, and we can always later clean it up. Control Z. So let me put this here because we want to use it in multiple places. So test environment name, and this is what we are going to substitute in these two places, right? Okay, and in fact I should also probably extract it just to be sure. Control C, and I should call it as string path equals string format percentage is percentage s, and in fact, and this time this is environment file path, right? And environment file path is this. I know this is test environment name, and file dot with name, it's already there, and this is what I should be using here. Let's change this. Control V, environment file path. Do we have an extra? Yes, we have an extra bracket, and let's also add a log statement here because we know that this area is problematic, so we want to log both these values. This should already fix the problem, so let's just go ahead and let's just go ahead and add the changes. Fixing path, fixing path variable to lowercase. Okay, sync the changes. Sync changes. Let's go to Windows 2. And this time, if I have not made any mistakes, the build should be green. So let's see. Okay. And it's green, right? If I go here, still, just to look what happened, you can see that this is the path, source main resource develop, and this time develop is lowercase. In Linux, uppercase and lowercase mattered, and that's why the problem is now solved. In the environment file path, we are giving the resource base path, which is develop user info and develop test data config. By the way, guys, do remember that this is important. If you try to give a full path like this while trying to let me go back, while trying to load this other files, if you try to give the full path, you will have a problem, right? So you do not want to give the full path, but it has to be relative base path, which is what this is. And once we do this, all the values are parsed correctly. And now we are in a condition to merge our pull request. So let's just go ahead and do it. All the checks are passed, squash and merge, confirm squash and merge. So now this code is available to you, and you should be able to pull this code. It will work for you in your local machine, and it will also work for you in your remote machine. Yeah, guys, like I hope you learned something useful in this video. Troubleshooting is an important part of our life, and when things start failing, we should know, how to systematically troubleshoot it. In this case, we learned a couple of things, like first isolating the problem from all the cases to one case. Then we tried to basically add try catch block to see, to get more logs about the problem. Then we saw, for example, that the last repository name was uppercase, even though we specified lowercase here. So then we realized, okay, that could be a problem. In my case, I also tried to use path here, but in this case it was not necessary, because it seems in both Windows and Linux machine it was able to understand this path format, and the problem was just with lowercase. But if you want to make it more clean, you can also add a path variable rather than trying to add a string, which is probably is what I'm going to do in my next video, right? Like not in next video, but I would just publish it, and you don't have to see the next video, but the change will be available there. So that's it. I hope you learned something new in this. And in the next video, actually, we will try to deal with the secrets. I thought I will deal with test data, but I think it makes sense to deal with secrets, because you not only will you working with your configuration, but you would also always need to work with the secrets. So it just makes sense to deal with them next. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day, guys, and see you in another video. Cheers. Bye-bye.